Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for Friday, June 4th, 2021. Yesterday, we had quite a dose of price volatility with the market gapping down substantially, running down, and then reversing back up. But unfortunately, it really didn't resolve any of the questions that we have in the charts. So what does that mean for today? Well, we have some big data coming out this morning. Anything is possible. So how about we settle in, let's buckle up and get ready for the Friday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Well, good morning once again, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain any information from the technicals as to how we might want to approach the market for today. First off, if we take a look at the diamonds here, and I continue to draw this out, we have that uptrend in play. And yesterday we held on to that uptrend, though we had a substantial test of support. However, we didn't resolve anything. If I zoom this up a little bit, let's notice right in here that our trend stays in play, but as we rallied back up yesterday, we didn't even come back up to break through that resistance level in the chart. So we kind of hedged our bet yesterday. We just weren't quite sure as to how we wanted to approach the day ahead of the employment situation number. So let's keep in mind, we still have price support down in this area, and that price support held yesterday down in here. We held all of that price support, bounced off of that level, yet we still have this potential downtrend in the chart to deal with. And as you can see this morning, we're just kind of sitting on the fence. We're not exactly sure what we want to do this morning ahead of that jobs number, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But technically speaking, we're kind of just waiting. We haven't resolved any issues. What we do know for sure is the bulls at this point have the willingness to fight, to hold on to price support. We also know that the bears seem to be willing to go to battle to hold the line on resistance levels. So we're just kind of sitting here in the middle, and we're waiting on data to decide, will we move up or will we move down? And your guess is as good as mine on that. Let's take a look at the SPY. SPY, also nice bounce up yesterday. We held on to trend. We held on to our 50-day moving average. As a matter of fact, not 50-day moving average, that's the NASDAQ. We held on here at this price support level in the chart. And of course, that is always a good sign anytime the bulls are willing to step in and defend price support levels. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, we didn't resolve anything. As a matter of fact, what we ended up doing was closing the day below that big bearish candle that we had on Tuesday. What does that mean? Well, it means the market just doesn't know what to do with itself. I think right now, certainly there's a case here for bullishness, but there is also that case for a little bit of bearishness. Remember, we still have this double top high pattern and resistance levels above that continue to challenge the market. Can we get enough inspiration in that jobs number today to push on through? Maybe. Could that number come in too hot and we see a negative reaction to that number because of worries what the FOMC's next step might be? It's a coin toss. Be really careful. We're just kind of trying to hedge our bet right here, sitting in the middle. And who gains inspiration from this number today is anyone's guess. Let's take a look at the Qs. Now, the QQQ did a really good job yesterday. We pushed down and we tested hard that 50-day moving average. Take a look at our 50-day moving average. We came down there, broke down below, tested it hard, broke through, but then we did end up rallying back. And notice we've got a little bit of bullishness trying to come into the NASDAQ this morning. Unfortunately, we have a problem here. First off, we broke this price support of that little bullish flag that we have in the chart, and we did not recover it yesterday at the end of the day. Notice that we ended up holding right there at the 50-day moving average, but we didn't recover at that 50-day moving average. So we have that little bit of concern with big techs showing some some selling yesterday. There just wasn't a whole lot of love there in those big techs. Now we have a news report that Facebook is getting another antitrust thing going on. We've got recalls at Tesla. It could be another challenging day for some of these big techs, but let's watch that closely. And remember, we still have this possible lower high coming into play, and we still have this substantial resistance level in the chart that actually carries back over here to a high right over here as well. So we have a substantial level of price resistance yet to overcome. We're going to need some pretty good numbers and some pretty good inspiration to break through on that. Watch that closely. A failure here at the 50-day moving average could certainly bring out the bears. Let's take a look at IWM. Now, IWM really sold off pretty heavily first thing in the morning, but let's take a look. We pushed down, held well above our 50-day moving average, and responded back nicely. Now, a good portion of that is because we had a number that was favorable to the oil sector. They were very strong yesterday, holding up nicely. And we still have this substantial resistance level in the chart that we need to break through. So holding on to support, bullish. Underneath resistance, a little bit bearish, and keep in mind that we have this little downtrend in play here. So again, we're kind of right in the middle, trying to decide what we do, and today might be that data point that kicks us over the edge, so watch that close. Let's take a look at the VIX. Now the VIX also just kind of hedged its bet yesterday. Notice that if I put some lines on here that we held underneath our price resistance levels in the chart. We shot up pretty big early on in the day, but at the end of the day, we really didn't resolve anything. We drifted back down. We ended up with a little bit of an increase in the VIX, but nothing in here that's really giving us any clues. So right now, I gotta say, we need to break down through this level of support. If we're going to push to new record highs, we need to see that break down. What we don't want to see, we don't want to see that fear coming in and spiking back above this 20 area in the VIX. If we spike back up there, we run that risk that eventually we'll hold that as support and push on through. We want to see this hold as resistance and then that failure. So watch carefully today. Anything is possible. Then let's take a look at our T2122. Now the T2122 4-week new high new low ratio had quite a reaction yesterday. At the lows yesterday, our T2122 was down in here. We had significant selling, but notice how much we pushed right back up on the day. So while we're below that bearish reversal zone, we really haven't resolved a whole lot here. But the good news is T2122, if we can find some inspiration, does say that we have upside opportunity. So if that jobs number comes in right, we could get that bullish push back up here into that bullish reversal zone. We have room to move up there. If of course those bears come in, we have a pretty substantial open hole to the downside that we can move, and we saw just how quickly yesterday things can deteriorate and test levels pretty quickly. So we have to be on our toes and be prepared for just about anything today. Let's take a look at our T2101. Now T2101 is still just kind of hedging its bet. What we're seeing here in T2101 more than anything else is we're just seeing a lack of momentum. We're seeing that unwillingness to push through resistance. We're seeing an unwillingness to break support levels. So we're waiting on something. We're just drifting along here. We can't seem to gain enough momentum to really get anything going. So perhaps today that changes. Let's watch this closely as we progress. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. And this is what I've been alluding to all morning. That is going to be the big news of the day, and we'll see how the market reacts. Keep in mind, we're going to be hearing from actually Jerome Powell, I think, is talking right now, and it doesn't seem to be having any effect on the market. The futures are basically flat. European markets are basically flat. So everyone seems to be waiting on what this employment situation number will come in at. So watch that closely. They're expecting a good strong report, 680 some thousand, somewhere around in there, of jobs being created. And that would be probably a good number. And if that comes in there, we might be fine. If it comes in hotter than that, that'll be the concern. If it comes in bigger than that, we could see the market react negatively because we're worried about FOMC changing those easy money policies and becoming a little bit more restrictive. So watch that closely right there. Your guess is as good as mine. Also know that we have factory orders at 10 a.m., but I doubt anyone cares. We'll be focused on the reaction to the jobs data number. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar. Now, our earnings calendar has, about a dozen stocks on there, but honestly, there's nothing happening on the earnings calendar except one potential notable chart today. HOFT, Hooker Furniture, will be reporting today. Keep an eye on that. See, it's looks like it's spiking up this morning on its earnings results. Watch this price resistance level in the chart. This has certainly been moving in an upside trend. So good earnings report might break this out to a new upside move. But that's basically it. Everything else is unconfirmed and very small cap reports this morning. So keep that in mind. Wow, we're really shooting up here. So we're breaking through those resistance levels. They must have had a really good earnings report here this morning on HOFT. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up. But before we do that, guys, if you could do me a quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and then also click that bell icon when it pops up so that you'll be notified every time I post one of these videos. And if you find these videos to be helpful, if you could also do me a favor and click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps those algorithms continue to show these videos to more folks and helps the channel grow. We're getting close to 21,000 subscribers. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, everyone. I truly, truly appreciate it. Now, I apologize. Yesterday, I didn't get a chance to answer all of those. I just was too busy. Those comments, I did read them all and noted that I read them all. But I will be back to answering those questions or comments this morning. And I just want to humbly thank everyone for their kindness. I truly, truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks setting up. And before we do that, remember, guys, that none of these stocks are a recommendation to buy or sell any security. As a matter of fact, everyone has to do your own due diligence on these trades. Understand the risk and make sure you're following your trading plan. Never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Let's take a look at a couple here. I put an alert here on NIO yesterday. Let me show my drawings here on the chart. In NIO, we have this downtrend that has been broken now, and we broke through a fairly substantial level of price resistance in the chart. And notice that we're just pulling back and resting right in this area. Now, what I'd like to see is a little, more than just a little rest, more than just a couple, 3 days bouncing back and lifting up. I would rather see several days of consolidation and rest in here, moving out toward trend. The closer we move over here toward trend, the better this trade gets for me, and I would be looking for that potential upside if that would occur. So I've placed a price alert. If I can get 2 or 3 days of real tiny price action, little dojis in here, I might move that price alert down. So watch that closely on NIO. It's got some potential. You might want to take a look at Dick's Sporting Goods. Now, Dick's had a big pop on earnings results. Notice that big move right there. And I placed a price alert really tight on this trade. And this, I'm not saying I'm going to trade this. Just wanted to keep an eye on this pullback. Now, this is a nice little controlled pullback holding inside that nice little flagpole candle. So keep an eye on that. If that holds in here, and I would really prefer to see this rest a few more days out here sideways and then look for that opportunity in that trade. But keep an eye on Dick's Sporting Goods. Could be setting up. Take a look at Coca-Cola. I actually bought Coca-Cola yesterday on this nice little pot. Let's notice that Coca-Cola broke through some pretty substantial resistance here. And then we held that resistance as support. Picked that up yesterday on this nice candle, hoping to get some follow through to the upside. Please keep in mind that any of these stocks can have some negative impacts if that number comes in badly or really hot this morning and the market sells off. It could have some negative impacts on this chart. So watch that carefully. May not be the best time to be jumping in, at least first thing in the morning, until we know how the market is going to react beyond that point. Take a look at Lovesac. Now, Lovesac was kind of interesting yesterday, had a big shot to the upside and then gave it all back. But notice there's really no problem here in that, did I say Love Shack? I think it's Love Sack. I apologize if I did say that. An old rock and roll song. So we rested in here in that sideways move. Watch this closely because we're still holding this trend. If we could back and fill a few more days here, we still have that opportunity to perk on through and move on up. So watch that closely. Now, one thing you will want to keep in mind, looks like we have her earnings coming here on the 9th. So you'll want to keep that in mind if you plan to take that trade. Another chart that you might want to be keeping an eye on, I placed an alert on Twitter. Now, Twitter is not one of my favorite companies out there. As a matter of fact, I kind of dislike all social media, if you want to know the truth. But when we take a look at a chart like Twitter here, this rally back up and this pullback in here is kind of interesting because we're holding above this little resistance level and we have this gap above. So keeping an eye on that, there is that possibility that if we find some inspiration today, we might start perking up and pushing up to that upside. But keep in mind that antitrust lawsuit being filed against Facebook yesterday could also have a negative effect on this chart. Let's take a look at TAP. We had a nice move on this on Thursday and then a little bit of a doji resting pattern in here. Keep an eye on that resistance level in the chart. But TAP has been running in a beautiful upside trend, and I kind of suspect there's a pretty good chance this might perk on out and continue to extend. So watch that chart. TAP looking pretty good. Also on that list, you might want to take a look at Bud. Bud is hanging in there pretty well. It's been rallying, resting in this little pattern. Shot up here a little bit and pulled back, but I think there's still that opportunity we hold in here and find some more upside in that chart. So watch that closely. Let's take a look at some of the metals out there. Take a look at STLD, Steel Dynamics. Steel Dynamics putting in a pretty good pattern. Now, unfortunately, I had an alert up here and it just never triggered to that upside move. And now we have kind of recovered that area and we're proving to hold this little support area in the chart. Notice we have a nice bullish candle here and that possibility that steel may be recovering and we may have some more hope of that infrastructure plan coming together. So keep an eye on that. Steel Dynamics trying to push higher. You might want to watch that. And you can translate that into several of these steel stocks. Take a look at X. X also doing very much the same. We kind of broke down and then we pushed back up. We're holding support levels now. We're trying to work through some details here to see if we can follow through to the upside. You might look at Cleveland Cliffs. Take a look at that. We broke down here. Now we've rallied back up. We're regaining support levels in that chart and we're trying to work through some details here to see if we can push on higher. So keep an eye on that. Take a look at gold. Gold had a pretty rough day yesterday selling off, and so did silver. But notice that gold has a pretty good chance of holding on to some price support and trend. So it is possible this pullback in gold might be just an opportunity to be watching for the next potential entry into that trade. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be looking for an entry into gold. So if we can hold in here and start back up, might be that opportunity to finally pick it up. Watch that carefully. Gold looking pretty good overall. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. And I also want to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Be safe out there. Have a great day, a great weekend. We'll see you right back here, bright and early Monday morning. Talk to you soon.